Okay, so final part of the lesson today. Now that you've recalled the narrative, understood and practiced some of your personal responses to the characters, and then unpacked a full model answer, I now want you to think about the steps that you're going to take between this week and next week, so a week's time, to make sure you're super prepared for your own argument. We have one more lesson left after this one before the assessment, and you're going to choose which of the two options of lessons you do on the Tuesday. There'll be one lesson for the Sherlock question and one lesson for the Victorian expectations lesson. And in that lesson, I'm going to do some guided planning tasks with you. I'm going to show you the extract that you're going to be negotiating with in the assessment on Wednesday. So you'll have time to choose your quotations from the extract, to choose your ideas there. Um, but beforehand, there are a couple of things that it would be really, really good for you to do. So I'm going to talk you through this little handout I'm also going to attach to the Show My Homework post. And that I would suggest that if you have a printer, amazing, you could print it out and have it in front of you. If you don't, do not worry, because you can just flip over and have a look at it during the assessment. But I would suggest that if you're going to do a practice essay, you could use this, and just that you're reading through it before and during the assessment to make sure that you're staying on track. So what does it say? It says, how do I approach a full essay analysis? What steps do I take? Firstly, I plan. So read the question carefully and complete your initial annotation tasks. That's what you're going to be doing in next Tuesday's lesson. So I'm going to guide you through all of that activity. Number two, you've already chosen your evidence from the extract. Now consider the rest of the narrative. What other key moments are important? What evidence could you refer to? And then plan your argument. What will you prove? Now, steps 2 and 3, I think you could do on your own in advance. So you can choose your question, so you know which question is going to be either Holmes or Victorian expectations. And you can start to make notes and evidence and choose evidence for your essay. If your evidence comes from the extract that I identify next week, that's fine. Doesn't matter if there's overlap. But the more evidence you sort of collate over the next few days or during today's lesson, the better prepared you'll be for Tuesday, because then you'll just be bringing everything together. Um, so underneath here, we've got structuring your analysis. This is exactly what I just took you through in terms of my own essay. So I started with my argument, and then I did what, how, why. What have you noticed the writer doing in the chosen moment? So beginning, middle, and end of the story. How is the methods and the effects? So I used the effects prompts here, and you can have this with you next Wednesday. And then the why, which is the writer's intention, and your intentions verbs here. Okay, so it's all on there for you. I've got 2 top tips here. Again, things I've already mentioned in the lesson, but to come back to remind yourself, you should demonstrate a chronological approach to the text. I think it's really clever. And if you're doing that in advance, you might be able to spot links and patterns. If you're going for a top band response, you have to show connected ideas. You can't just have 3 separate ideas in an essay. There has to be a sense of a thread, a pattern. Um, so it means looking back at the whole text and choosing your evidence really carefully to try and think about the evidence that links together, the methods that Doyle uses all the way through. My second top tip, again, this is for people going for top band. You need to make sure you're choosing evidence that has the opportunity to explore multiple levels of meaning and alternative interpretations. If you remember, this was my feedback yesterday to Fatima, and to a certain extent to Anastasia as well, was the choice of evidence, making sure that the evidence chosen was interesting enough to really unpack and rich enough to really sort of navigate and negotiate with. So both of these 2 things are things that you can do in advance, is plan out your chronological approach to the moments that you're going to refer to across your whole essay, and choose really great evidence that you think that you could do some quotation explosions. You could put some of your quotes down and think, okay, what could I say about this? Which word would I pull out? Those would all be excellent things to do in advance. I've got my little prompts here for you. So adverbs to help you start your sentences, effects prompts to unpack your evidence, and intentions verbs. And then this is our little checklist. This is what we're going to be using next year for all essays for year 7, 8 and 9. And we've made this little checklist. This is our new lockdown checklist for analysis. It is to remember to smile. So when you finish your essay, when you finish your assessment next week, you need to remember to smile. And what that means, an acronym, which means that every single letter in the word smile refers to a thing you have to remember to check off. So the S stands for state your argument. That's what you should have done at the beginning of the essay. And you should have stated your argument all the way through. So when you're proofreading, have I stated it clearly? Have I stated it repeatedly? Mention multiple methods. Multiple is important there. And some people use things like words and phrases in your responses last week, and it's really, really important to try and be as specific with subject terminology as possible. Adjective, verb, noun, adverb, declarative, metaphorical language, personification, symbolism, whatever you want to use, but make sure you're mentioning them by name. Identify intentions, that's these little verbs here. Very, very, very important to choose and select from those. Link back to the question, that's to keep you focused. And I would say that also links to this, link back to your argument because that's linked to the question, and embed lots of evidence and lots of effects. So these are your effects prompts here. So if you remember that acronym, you might want to take a note of that now. That will help you to proofread each paragraph and then your full essay response. So finally, I've just done a little section here and I've suggested an activity for you to be doing between now and next Tuesday. I'm not going to ask you to submit these, but if you would like to, I'd be more than happy to take a look at any kind of plans that you put together, or any drafts if you want to do any of that beforehand. I'm more than happy to look at that. Just send me a comment on Show My Homework and submit it there. So this is my suggestion for an activity to help you plan. So what might your notes look like? What might that include? So I've done an exemplar for the Doyle presents Sherlock's character. So you can see here, I've started to plan my argument. I haven't written it all out yet, but I've done bullet points. So I just sat down and I thought, okay, what do I think of Sherlock's character? What's the point of him? The kind of questions I was asking you earlier in the lesson. So I said, okay, how is Sherlock presented? Why is he presented in this way? So I started by listing adjectives. Sherlock is a questioning character. Sherlock is astute. He's an interrogative character. He's nuanced. That means he's layered. He's someone who seeks the truth and he wants to understand the world around him. So that's kind of my impression of Sherlock's character. And then I'm thinking, okay, why is he presented in this way? Well, I think that Doyle is encouraging us to see through Sherlock's eyes, and he makes him have an innovative, less stereotypical approach so that we are encouraged to have that as well. And I think he contrasts with his very restrictive, prejudiced society. He's not restrictive. He does kind of whatever he wants. He doesn't follow the rules of society. He doesn't align with prejudices. We talked about class prejudice and gender prejudice. He doesn't seem to align with those. And therefore, his kind of inconformity and perceptiveness of the truth kind of forces us to look at the world in a different way and to acknowledge the reality. So his exposure in my essay of Dr. Roylott allows us to kind of really see the truth of the dark lives of Victorian men. Same with the exposure of Neville St. Clair in The Twisted Lip, because he shows us, he literally reveals with the sponge, doesn't he, the truth. And I linked back to a contextual idea. So I went back and I watched one of my previous context videos about the Victorian fin de siècle, which I talked to you guys about before half term. And I said, well, maybe the fin de siècle was a time of transition where things were really changing. So maybe Sherlock's innovative worldview that we're encouraged to follow and acknowledge is mirroring the innovation of the time. So I'm like, okay, those are bullet points, but you can kind of see how that would pull together to become a paragraph like this one here with 3 or 4 sentences. And then the rest of my planning is literally listing evidence and moments. So what I've done when I was like, right, well, how am I going to write this essay? And this is actually what I'm going to use for the the essay that I'm going to do for next week. So this is very genuine. I put down my ideas, my argument, and then I reread The Man with the Twisted Lip. I reread this story thinking about this argument and thinking about anything that struck me as interesting as I was reading. And then if I found something interesting, I just copied and pasted it. So I've read the first bit and I realized that actually Sherlock Holmes doesn't appear for the first section. So this is the first moment we see him. So I copied and pasted that. And then I identified these little bits in yellow that I think are most interesting. So the dull eyes regained their fire. I was like, love the metaphorical language, and the fact that that shows us how Sherlock Holmes is this very sort of fiery, innovative, exciting character. I thought that would be a really nice way of um, showing my points up here about the kind of traditional, the dullness, the restricted Victorian, and then the fire of Sherlock Holmes. So immediately that struck me to be linked there. And then I've literally just listened, and then I found a little quotation I read a little bit later in the text, the way that Watson talks about Sherlock Holmes and the way that he admires his mastery and his definite way of speaking. So I've picked out that big quotation and I've narrowed it down into the most interesting parts. I've identified the methods and I've just written some notes here about the sort of thing I might say. I've got Holmes looking down on other characters, other men. I've got the intensity of Holmes, and I've got his sort of easy-going, jovial manner. I have done this chronologically. I've written down my notes chronologically because I know that my essay is going to be chronological, so this will help me to put that together. So essentially, I could sit here and write my essay with just these notes in front of me because this is going to turn into my first paragraph, my argument. And then this is going to turn into my chronological convincing analysis because I'm just going to go through these one by one and select the quotations. And then I'm just going to come back to the ideas here all the way through. So I would really suggest that you put together something like this. It could be handwritten, it could be on Word, it depends what you've got at home to use. As I say, if you want to send it through to me, absolutely fine. I'd love to see those. But rereading the text with your argument in mind is going to be really important. It's not something I'm going to be able to get you to do during that lesson on Tuesday. That's more to do with planning with the extract. So I would highly recommend a reread once you've thought about these ideas for the argument. Any questions on that, just let me know. I'm more than happy to explain that or answer any questions about that for you.